So you've heard me talk about companion clubs a little bit. Certainly, probably not enough to help you truly understand what they are. I saw this gentleman, Patrick Logano, speak at our Zone Institute in Huntsville. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Huntsville. And I already forgot what club you're in, Patrick.
Don't you worry about it.
But he gave a beautiful explanation of companion clubs with a lot of passion. And he also has facilitated the start of companion clubs around the country. He has a 4-step process that I assume he'll talk about. But I definitely wanted you to hear, especially his story. And then there are there's several clubs here in the room, some members who are passionate or at least considering companion clubs. And I'd like to give them the opportunity to ask you questions about how they build support, et cetera, to really get it rocking and rolling. So with that, Patrick Logano, companion club champion.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate being here. I'm not going to bore you with any slides. So we'll take that out real quick. I'm not a PowerPoint presentation kind of guy. Just a little background. I'm a everyday Rotarian from Western North Carolina. And a little bit deeper background in how I got here. My wife is a school teacher, and she's the reason why I'm here right now. Anybody and this needs to be interactive, or I will put up the slides real quick. Anybody ever hear if every Rotarian just brought one person to Rotary, all our problems would be solved? Raise your hand if you've heard that. Raise your hand if you believe that. Okay, cool. Because we've been doing that for 30 years and it's just not working. So, but I was feeling a little frisky back there in 2019 when, I heard that for the first time. And I had been in Rotary from 2001 to 2004. Like a lot of people, life happened to me. I owned a Ford and Lincoln Mercury franchise, and we met Fridays at the country club outside of the city. So it was almost a half an hour drive. Then they wanted you to be there, for a half an hour fellowship before. Then the meeting never started on time. So it wound up being like a 3-hour round trip Fridays at noon. So it didn't fit with my job. I wound up leaving Rotary. But in 2017, I found that that the club had moved in to the city. And it was easier for me to get to. So the first day, I'll never forget it. First day I went back in, that club that when I left in 2004 had 146 members. And when I returned in 2017, it had, so 13 years later, it had 47 members. It lost 99 members. It was just a shock to the system. So I joined back, and in 2019, I heard that little pitch, and I started thinking, who do I know that is a Rotarian that just hasn't been asked yet? And I kept coming back to my wife because, frankly, she's the best of us in my opinion. She deals with 25 kindergartners every day and then has to come home and deal with me. But that's probably the reason why we've been married for 29 years, because she knows how to handle that. So I proposed her, and I was, I had a meeting with one of the people that are on the board, and they said that they probably could not admit her. And I was like, well, why not? And they said, well, she can't come to 60% of our meetings. And I said, well, we meet Fridays at noon. And they said, yeah. And I said, well, she's a teacher. She can't come. So I was kind of a little irked, but what really irked me is they said, why doesn't she join the breakfast club? And I said, well, what time do they meet? And they said 7:30. I said, she's a teacher. Come on. And then it took it up one more notch. The next thing that they said was she could start her own club. And I was sitting there inside just kind of going, how come we can't find a place for somebody who obviously is a Rotarian by all their actions in their life and giving back to the community, their volunteerism, the whole 9 yards. How come we can't find a place for them? But the other one is this club had lost 99 members, and in a 13-year span, and we're trying to push them off to somebody else instead of trying to figure out a way to do it. So that's what started me on the journey of trying to find a way that I could get my wife in there to be able to serve, at the way that she could serve after school, weekends, that sort of thing. So I looked at a bunch of things. I looked at Rotary Community Corps. I looked at passport clubs, but passport clubs are standalone clubs. And, I wanted to build up our existing club. And that was our main thing, my main goal. So I searched for 14 months. And everybody in Rotary did one of these. Has anybody seen that Spider-Man meme where they all point at each other? That's what happened. So I was very familiar with the Rotary Club Constitution and what I had designed, and went back to my wife and I said, would you do this? And when she finally said that took a lot, guys. I mean, there was a lot of pitches until the one time that I got to her and she looked up at me and she said, I do that. But what we had designed, there was no conflict with the Constitution. So I always say, if it's not written down that you can't, and it follows the 4-way test, just go ahead and do it. So that's what we did. And in June of 2020, during the height of the pandemic, we inducted 8 members into the first Impact Club, is what I called it. And in one calendar year, June through June, we put on 79 new members. And all those members counted for our home club. So it was a wonderful feeling to be able to do that. But I started getting phone calls. Hey, what's in the water down there? Hey, can you help us? And that started this 5-year journey, almost 6-year journey now, to help other people and other clubs do it. We're now nearing 200 clubs worldwide: Netherlands, Australia, Philippines, all of North America. Great Britain and Ireland now has 15 clubs in there as well. So quick stop and a little point to make here. I didn't serve on any committees. I was Rotarian Patrick Longano. That's all. That's what I was. And we decided to do something. So there's nobody in this room. And I promise you, when you go back to your clubs, I want you to tell them that too, that it doesn't matter if you're have a zone level position or a district level position. If you have a good idea and your heart is in the right spot, you can change, Rotary. It's a good feeling to help other clubs. But it got too much. And Dale, you'll hear this coming up, but you guys are you're the first group of Rotarians to hear this because I'm meeting with you before I meet with everybody down here in Indiana. I wrote up a proposal in November asking for help because it's gotten big. The North American Board of Directors voted yes on that proposal to create the North American Club Creation Team. So we have 20 experts that do what I've done over the last 5 years, know how to create clubs, help you walk through the 4-step process, which I'll get to in a second, and create the club or the companion or the satellite of your dreams. Whatever you dream you want your club to be, we can help you do. So that's a little bit of backstory that brings you up to date. I'll take a pause real quick and let anybody ask any questions they want to, and then I'll get into the how we do it. Any questions? Come on, I know it's early.
Yeah, just Patrick, could you explain just a little bit more about what a companion satellite impact club is?
Great. I will. I love this question. Um, so, and it comes with a really good story. So, anytime you go back, anybody have a back table in their Rotary Club? There's probably some people that sit at that back table. Raise your hand. No, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. So there are people that um, resist, and this is the only time that I'll use this word today, change. Okay. Um, so my job is to help overcome objections in the step process. And every time, everybody here knows what a satellite club is, right? Raise your hand. Everybody does? Yep. Fantastic. Um, every single time that I got with a board in a step, I would have one or two people that said, as soon as I started the word satellite, I go, and they're like, no, we're not doing that. Bob down the street had a bad experience with a satellite club, or my club's dying. Why am I going to help build up another club? It was just this weird dynamic. I couldn't even get to the objections that I needed to get to help start forming a club or help a club get started because of that one word. Even though it's not written that way, people believe that a satellite club is a club that gets attached to a host club with 8 members. As soon as they get to 20, they break off and go somewhere else. So I would get, my club is dying. I need to worry about building up our existing club instead of helping, that way. And that was a huge concern. So one day I was just sitting there and trying to figure out a way that I can overcome this objection. And I was on with a club and I said, this is like a companion club. Its stated purpose is to stay with the home club and to build up our existing club. It's just an extension of that. And all of a sudden, all of these things started to melt away. So I kept using the word companion. Now, here's where the good story comes in. About 6 months before the Melbourne convention, I get a call from Rotary. Do we have a Rotary representative in the room?
No.
Okay, good. So I'm going to tell you the story. So I get a call. I get a call that says, "Hi, Patrick." And I was like, "Hi," and they're like, I need to talk with you about something. We've been talking up here with legal." Now, when they pause and then add the with legal, that's this is one of those you sharpen up here. And I said, okay. And they said, we're going to need you to stop using the word companion. It's a satellite club. We don't have a program called companion. And I was just shocked. I mean, I'm sitting here doing all this volunteer work, trying to help. And if I can't get to the real objections because of bad marketing on their part, but I couldn't think of anything to say. So I said, no, thank you. And she said, excuse me? I said, no, thank you. And she said, I don't understand. I said, well, you called and politely asked me to do something, and I'm politely declining. So she goes, where do we go from here? And I said, I don't know, but it's been great talking to you. So they hung up. And about 15 minutes later, I get a call from Chris Jones, the former RC, my mentor in Rotary. And he goes, what did you do? I said, what do you mean? What did I do? And I relayed the same story that I just told you. And he goes, well, Brian King and Jeremy Hurst, who was the director for 33 and 34 at that time, and Brian King is the head of membership worldwide in Rotary, want to speak with you. And remember, I never met Brian. I didn't know anything about that. And I said, okay, when? And he goes, now. I said, okay. So I get on the call with him, and he says, why? Why do you have to do this? And I explained to him exactly what I just explained to you. And this is the point I want you to take away from this. The people, sometimes it's natural to blame the people up at Rotary International. But this guy, and if you ever get a chance to meet him or hear him speak, please do, because he's incredible and he listens to people. So I just gave him an impassioned plea, told him why, and he leaned in and went, I agree with you. And he said, and I don't know how we're going to get it done. And then he started talking with Jeremy, and they were bantering back and forth. And I'm just sitting there on a Zoom call going, so do I need to be here? And he's like, yeah, just hang tight. And then he looked back at me and said, Patrick, we're going to get this taken care of. I think we know a way that we can do this. We're good. And I went, do I need to stop what I'm doing until you get that figured out? And he went, no, keep going. And when I landed in Melbourne, the day that I landed in Melbourne, when you turn back on your phone and everything comes in, bloop, 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 it's great. And it was a text from Brian King, and it said, check your email. So I checked my email, and there was something on there, and it says, look what you did. And if you go and look at the accepted models under satellite, it mentions companion and how it's meant to stay in some areas. It's meant to stay with the home club, building up the home club's mission. So I tell you that story because you can do, and they're wanting you to do, whatever it is that you want to create. So that's how a companion club came in. So you have a satellite, and what it's doing right now, guys, is and this will take council legislation in another 3 years to really make it, but a satellite club is built to create a brand new standalone club, and a companion club acts almost in that same way, but its stated purpose is to stay with the home club and build up the home club's membership with no intention of breaking away. And it even sounds better. Satellite club is that club over there, and a companion club is, where they're companions to the home club. So that's the difference. Now, impact is just the type of companion club. Just like over on satellite, you can have a cause-based club, you can have any type of club that you want, any style club. Impact is just a type of companion club that denotes a service club. Okay. Marty Hellman, incoming director up in 32 and 28. I said, what's your definition when somebody says, what's the difference between a satellite club and a companion? She said, a companion is a satellite, only cooler. And I was like, I like that definition. So that's the main difference. And when you go back and you're talking to your board and stuff like this, you're designing something that's going to create membership and a really, really good feeder into your club. All the clubs that we've done so far, 12.2%, I do it every January, 12.2% of the people that start in a companion wind up in the home club. That conversion rate is almost 3 times better than Rotaract to a standalone Rotary club. And we haven't even been able to get there yet and really dial in and try to raise that. But just naturally, the move from a companion to the home club is 12.2%. It's fantastic. So any questions on that?
I wanted to jump in just really quick with a technical definition. So a satellite or a companion club are a group of members who meet at a different time, place, whatever. Maybe they don't meet at all and they're an impact club, which just performs service projects, but they're members of the home club or the legacy club. So
yep.
Mike Talty has a question.
Are they able to kind of like create their own name, or do they have to be like Jaga West Rotary Companion Club?
No, the great part about it is, and there's a little wild west action going on up at CDS right now, because whenever you do the paperwork and you send it up, that's a great question, sir. Whenever you send paperwork up for Satellite Club, their naming convention for their computer system was the Rotary Satellite Club of blankety blank, and they had to mention, the home club in that. They're starting to allow the ability for different naming conventions. But I will tell you what I always do, okay? In step 3, I always ask 2 questions. I ask one favor and I tell one rule. It's not really a rule because it's not written down. But I'll use impact as an example. Okay. So the naming convention that I always do for marketing wise is impact by the Rotary Club of the Foothills, impact by the Rotary Club of Cleveland, impact by the Rotary Club of this. And the reason why I do that is twofold. First, we're standing on the shoulders of giants. There's clubs out here that have been there for over 100 years. And all we're doing as a companion is enhancing that and being able to have people serve just a little bit differently. Okay. But we're always going to reference the home club because we wouldn't be here without the home club. So it also reduces a little bit of the stress between the home club and the companion. And it reminds them that we're the same club. Okay. So that's one of the reasons that we do it. The other reason why I always do a naming convention like that is because has anybody ever heard on the street when you talk about Rotary or bring it up, somebody goes, oh, is that the old man meet and eat club? Or is that a cult? Or any of the other wild things. Actually, if you go to Google, when you start typing it in, it'll drop down, what people, what the most popular questions are. I did that a couple of years ago, and it was like, how old do you have to be in Rotary? And which is funny. And then, do you have to be rich to be in Rotary? So the naming convention, when you do that, impact by the Rotary Club of, or whatever type of companion you're doing by the Rotary Club of, it gives you that one other chance to, when you're speaking with somebody that might have made up their mind, that's that old man's club, or, it's only full of old people, or any of those things. It gives you the opportunity to open their minds a little bit and gives a little better pathway to speak with them because it's a new program. You see what I'm talking about? So it's designed that way for marketing. But great question, sir. Absolutely fantastic question. Thank you for that. What other questions do we have? Yes, ma'am. Oh, I apologize. I can't hear.
Jesse was asking, what's the transition process?
Yes. If the goal is ultimately to become members of Legacy Club, what is the transition process?
Well, I'll take part of this, Patrick. They're
Yeah,
all
of course, sir.
the Legacy Club when they join the companion or the satellite.
Dues level, that is
That's that.
a lot.
Hey, Dale.
Yeah.
We get 19 minutes in and we got the money question. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I love it. Thank you. Sorry about that. Guys, one of the joys in my life is doing this, as you could probably tell. This is just a passion of mine, is to help bring people to Rotary. And sometimes you have to overcome objections like we were talking about just a little bit ago. I have created a list, and it's updated, every month, of the top 20 objections that I get. It's in a file. I'll send it to Dale. He can distribute it to you guys, and how, under each one of those objections, how I overcome the objection. Okay, it's usually just a word track and then a conversation, a word track and a conversation. Okay, so number one, what do you think the number one objection is?
Money.
Money. Now, you're absolutely right. Number 2 through 20 are listed as something else.
But it's funny.
But the deep root about it, it's money. It always is. So I always tell folks when I get in, we're going to have that conversation. Okay. So it's the third rail in Rotary. It really is. When you discuss people, it's very personal to people. And I agree. But I tell them up front, we're going to discuss money. But do you know what the great part about it is? When you meet with our team and we walk you through the steps, we bring that up. And you know what the best answer is? You guys get to decide that. This is not a cookie cutter process. We're going to give you best practice. We're going to walk you through the steps. We're going to handle the objections. We even take care of the paperwork for you. We just want you concentrating on that process to do so. So money is based on individual club and style and what they do. There are some clubs that come back to me and say, we're going to do this. And I'm like they're asking permission. I'm like, no, you do whatever you want. We have clubs that charge as little as $15 a month. We have some clubs that charge, $50 a month on this. It depends on where you're at, what they're doing, what the benefit that's coming out of it. So you just have to weigh all those things out. But we walk you through that portion of it because it is the most, if money wasn't a question, okay? If money wasn't a question, we'd have thousands of these. So it's about money, but it's also about helping people go from conception all the way through practice. Anybody here heard of a community-based Rotary Club? Raise your hand. Okay. Do you know how much a community-based Rotary Club costs a month? Or excuse me, a year to join? $8. $8. We've started more companions at hundreds of dollars a year this year so far, probably double or triple the amount than community-based Rotary clubs. So it's about money, but it's not about money. Because if it was all about that, we'd have hundreds of community-based Rotary clubs. And you don't want them to drop it in the middle of Cleveland or you drop it in the middle of the city, and then you want to talk about cannibalization. So I won't get off on that thread. But it is about money, but it's about the value-added benefit that they get for it. So we help foster that conversation in the 4 steps. Dale, do you have something to say, bud?
Yeah, no, I was just going to ask you to describe the 4 steps.
I got it right now. Okay, step 1. Heck, has anybody been interested in this room about doing a companion? Raise your hand. Okay, great. So we're going to treat this as a step 1. How about this? Okay, a step 1 is just a conversation that we have. That's all. You're going to come and you're going to tell me why you're excited about it, but there might be these people that might not be excited about it. And I've always wanted to do empowering girls. So I'd love to do a companion club empowering girls, or we're by the coast. And a big focus of ours is environment. Can we do an environmental companion club? Yeah, so we have this discussion, okay? And all I'm here for is to kind of shape and mold it and answer these type of basic questions, okay? After we talk, you get an immediate email that says, it was great having a conversation with you. If you'd like to proceed to step 2, click here. That's the key. The clubs have to go, I want it. And they have to click and book a meeting. I want it. I want to do it. That's the only thing that we really need you to do. We'll take care of the rest in those, in the coming steps. So you book a step 2, and usually it's the person or the 1 or 2 people that are passionate about it, and they bring some other people on board. Some are, wonderfully supportive of it. Some that they bring are really kind of, against things, against the C word, those type of things. But a step 2 is to really drill down and kind of construct what it is that you want and prep for a board vote. Okay. So a lot of times after your step 2, you'll get another email that says, if you need another step 2, click here. If you're board approved and want to go to step 3, click step 3. There's a lot of clubs that stay in step 2 for 2 or 3 meetings. I'll get a call and says, hey, I'm booking another step 2. I would like for you to talk to our board. So I'll Zoom into a board meeting, have a conversation with them. Anybody here ever watched The West Wing before? Yeah, I call it my Arnie Vinnick moment. I'm going to stay there on the screen or in person, and I'm going to answer every single question that they possibly can ask until they're comfortable with it or not comfortable with it. But I'm there to answer every question that they have. Step 3, guys, is so amazing. I mean, I have so much fun in step 3. So people will come into a step 3 and they're really excited. They're just board approved. They're on their way. And I'm going to give you guys a little bit of insight, okay, into what we do here. Step 3, I ask 2 questions. I said, how many do you want to start your companion club with? 12 or 15? Now, a lot of these clubs that we were talking to haven't recruited 12 or 15 people before, but over 80%, guess what their answer is?
15.
15. They're pumped, and we're going to show them how to do that. Okay. The second question I ask is, hey, if there's 2 or 3 people on a board, do you have your calendar with you? Is there something that you have in the next 45-ish days that, like a Pints for Polio or a social or something like that? And I wait until they look at it and they're like, it's something that we can do inductions at, like at an event or something like that. And they give me the date and I write it down. Now, I just asked 2 questions, but what did I do? Those clubs, those Rotarians, said we're going to have 15 people by this date. Now, you're at your district conference. How many people do you know, how many Rotarians do you know that are going to say, we're going to have this by this date, and then don't do it? We've never failed to have a club that stayed in the program that has not gotten their founding members. The average days that it takes these clubs to get their founding members is 23 days from the time that they take the step 3 call. And here's the reason why. We teach bucketing, okay? After we get that stuff out of the way, we teach bucketing in step 3. How are you going to get those people? You're at a district conference. You're at a really good district conference because your DG, Dale, I mean, he understands membership. He really does. So, and you've got some great people and some great clubs that are up there that understand membership. But we teach and I hate that word teach, we coach, maybe is a better word, where you're going to go get it. Somebody hands you a piece of paper and says, here you go. We need you to grow by 10 people. And here's some, you need to have an elevator speech. Anybody ever hear that before? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. 20% of our people, just like in anything else, are going to get 80% of your members. It is what it is. But we coach on bucketing, and we follow up, and we give you the tools to actually get this done. And all the while, my staff is, every time you're getting somebody that's committed in, my staff is taking care of I call it my staff, it's maybe help that helps me at work. She's awesome. If you ever get an email from me that's like correctly punctuated and everything spelled correctly, it wasn't from me, it's from her. But she is in the background all the while as we're working on recruiting and getting people in. She's taking care of the application and everything that needs to go to Rotary. Anybody here ever do a satellite club or anything like that, charter a new club? You remember the paperwork that you had to do? I mean, it's 3-page application on everybody, and then the 3-page application to do it. And it's just the most boring and nonsensical thing that you could ever do. We've digitized it. So the day that 1 week, 7 days before your planned induction date, we cut off recruiting. The documents have already been prepped. It goes out electronically to your president, your secretary, the chair, and the named secretary and the companion, all DocuSign. Sign it, click and sign it, and it goes straight to club and district support. And then in step 4, I told you it's 4 steps. It's really 3 steps in a party. So I like to say that. So it's 3 steps in a party. And then we have a charter celebration, and me and my wife send you guys shirts, all your founding members and everything like that as our gift to you. I've been doing that since the very beginning. And so we have a really good time. It's not rocket science. So people think that they can just follow this on a piece of paper and do it. It's not about the 4 steps. It's about what happens in them and what happens during the transitions between the steps, the follow-up, the overcoming the objections, all of those types of things. If you're starting at point A and you're trying to get to here, my job is just to keep everybody on track and going down the line to getting this taken care of without any stress. Who here would love to do one of these, but they're like, oh my God, I don't know if I can add another thing to my plate, or who's going to do it in my club, or any of those other things. Guys, we take the pressure off. I just need enthusiasm. If you guys bring me enthusiasm, we're going to get this done for you. And now that Rotary International and the board of directors have approved this, it's going to happen on a way larger scale, and more availability. So it's a pretty neat process. So those are the 4 steps and what happens in that. But if anybody in here has been interested in that, let's treat this the rest of the time we have. Let's treat this as a step 1. Tell me what you're dreaming of. Tell me what you would like to do. Tell me ask me those questions. Let's do a step 1 here. And let's, break into this work. Even if you're not, ask the questions that maybe you would want to ask if you were thinking about doing this. So I know I had a bunch of people raise their hand of people that were thinking, about doing a companion. What kind of questions do you have? What did you think about your club?
David?
So 2 questions.
Uh-huh.
Dues still have to cover RI and district dues, right?
Yes, sir.
So,
Yep.
I mean, that's minimum.
Yep.
I mean, administrative is whatever it is.
Mhm.
So what we're looking at in our community does periodically a recognition of people, and some of them are whatever organizations or churches, what have you,
Mhm.
service in the community. They take care of somebody or something.
Mhm.
But a lot of them are individuals, and that's who we want to target. Are those people who are already doing things, but don't have an organization to do it with.
Yes. Great statement there, sir. You almost verbatim is what I say during the thing. These people are out there. They're already doing the work, and they're just looking for a flag to fly. They're looking something for bigger than themselves. So kudos to you for really recognizing that and fostering that. Now, you did say one word though. You said target. How many people in here believe that you should have, or that want more younger people in Rotary, in your Rotary Club? A lot of times when people say, hey, we need more young people, so we're going to go out there and get more young people. Anytime we target a specific group, okay, it tends to be, and I know you didn't mean it this way, but I'm glad you said that word, because I wanted to bring this up. It tends to ring hollow. One of the reasons why I did an impact companion club is because I talk service to one's community. If you ask 100 people, do you think it's the price that you should pay for living in the community to give back through the community through service? How many people in this room say yes to that question? Every single person, right? Every single person. So the next statement out of your mouth should be, can I show you a way that you can do that at your own pace and at your own time? They just gave you permission to tell them about your companion club. So service is what unites everybody. Okay, it covers genders, it covers race, it covers just every demographic, age. Your club will look like your community in 18 months, and we didn't have to say we need more women or we need more this or we need more that. Okay, so it is the product, and if you put the product out there, your necessary demographics will come. And then the good part about what you just said, sir, is When you're recruiting, that could be a bucket. You know, these people that you've worked with in the past. Another bucket could be on how many lunch clubs do we have here? Raise your hand if you're a lunch club. Guys, you've heard about attrition rate, okay? Lunch club, that's across all of Rotary. Lunch clubs have the highest attrition rate. Y'all need to be thinking about doing something like this, okay? But getting back, we do underrepresented professions. How many in the lunch club people that raised their hands? How many teachers do you have in your club? You know what I mean?
Summertime.
Excuse me?
Summertime.
Yep, summertime they'll come in. That's great. And if they're in a companion, right, a service companion or whatever companion that you do, they can be working the whole year helping with service projects on Saturday, doing all those other wonderful things, and then coming during the summertime to some meetings. You get to design what it is that you want. So, and sir, you had a second question.
So do you think that it's better to do this on individual basis or have a kind of a community meeting where you bring in a group of people all at the same time?
Well, I love Discover Rotaries and Discover Impact programs, you know, that sort of thing. We just had one at a community down in East Texas, and 27 people signed up to help in a food insecurity to work at a local food bank. So that was a cause-based one. So I believe in both, but one-on-one conversations are there. And when we go through the bucketing, we'll schedule a Discover Rotary or Discover Impact or just a social to get people to come. But a lot of it is that one-on-one. You're going to be able to start this when you get in and you pick your bucket easily, because every person in here knows, you know, the system to do. One of the reasons why it's important to do that is those first 15 people are going to get you your next 15 because they run in that same group. That's the reason why this is sustainable. The other people in your club will see this shift in being able to recruit, and you'll hear this one. I had no idea that we could do that. Bob, I got to get Bob in now. He couldn't do that because of this, and he'd be the perfect person for this. And so it changes the way you're moving forward about who can be a Rotarian and what type of service to the club is important. What other questions do we have?
Just a quick one. I agree with you 100% that the product is service. So the question I have, and this will probably get me kicked out. Why is it that, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Got you now.
Why is it that international and the district is inflexible relative to the fees, but the clubs are not? Because it's all about—
Sir, I love you. I want to tell you I love you. Okay. And my last district conference that I was doing, can you guys still hear me? I had to change out the earbuds. Okay. I wore a t-shirt to my district conference that said membership, and it had a line, and then it said money. Membership over money. Okay. It is, again, the third rail. Our district and our international, do I agree that they just went up on COL on international dues? No, I don't. But there are programs. The only way that we can stop increase in dues is to get more members. If they've got this many programs and this many members, it's X. If you've got less members, each of them are paying more because they're not going to cut the programs. It's a big machine that we don't have the ability to have an appropriate say in that until we prove numbers are going to, when you have numbers on your side and members on your side, you can start dictating the things that it is that you're concerned about. So when I get back, ask me what my biggest mistake was when I started the first one.
What was your biggest mistake when you started the first one?
You are the man. They came to me and asked me how much I was going to charge. And goodness gracious, it was the toughest thing on the planet to find out exactly what Rotary International dues was, because it's X, but then it's like $2.12 for insurance, and then it's $12 for the magazine, and then I'm like, just give me a number. So I got the number, and then I got my district dues number, and it was somewhere right around $130. Okay, at that point, so I said, I'm going to charge $180. There's two reasons why I charge $180. It doesn't sound like a lot, $50 for the dues, for club dues. But when you put 80 people on, I mean, there's some significant amount to do this. And these people don't cost you anything. Do you know how much I've ever spent on doing a service project? $0. Okay. So, but I did that because it was $15 a month. Even if you collect it quarterly, even if you collect it semi-annually, it was still $15 a month. That's how I did that. So I should have done 240, which is how much a month? $20 a month. It's the cost of Netflix. You know what I mean? Now, so I've had a club come back to me and they go, we're going to do 265. And I say, okay, that's great. You get to do what you want, but 240 or 300. 20 or 25. There's nothing sexy about saying it's $21.72 a month. People out there these days right now, even if they can do the quarterly or the annually pay, they're monthly payment people in the head. And when you say $20 a month, $25 a month, it's the cost of Netflix, or you relate it to something that they do, it's so much easier to handle that portion of the thing. We don't have problems people joining and people paying that portion. And if we do, we have a program that can help you get started to help get people in that might not be able to afford that at that time. Okay. So the flexibility will come with proof. And I'm going to explain that. I went to a director, past director, when I started this, and it started getting busy. I'm like, can we get some help in here? You know what I mean? This is working. And he said, no. And I said, well, when's Rotary going to jump in? He said, Rotary will jump in when there's proof that there's concept. Put these programs together in your clubs, get the members, solidify our clubs, make them, we're the greatest organization on the planet, in the history of the planet. Greatest service organization in the history of the planet, and we're dying because we don't want to do something just a little differently. We don't want to make our tent a little bigger, or people have thought that they couldn't do that. You can do anything you want to. Every club out here is autonomous, and you can design the program and the fee structure that you want to do. But me and you just became best friends. Just want to tell you that.
Mike, you have a question? Do you find that your companion clubs have more success if they come in under like a certain area? So like physical area, and they focus on all of the core values of like Rotary and things like that? Or do you find that you can have multiple companion clubs or impact clubs that focus on one or two core focuses of what Rotary does? Do they have more success? Can you have multiples in the same group, same area, that type of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. The biggest factor for having a successful companion is to come through the steps, because we set it up for you to do that and to help massage it. Before, they weren't allowed to do. I've had a bunch of groups that want to do companions jointly. And now there's a mechanism that I found in Rotary's cogwheel of system there that we can do stuff like that. But I want to make sure, and Dale, I think this is important to say, how many people in this room have lost a Rotarian over the last couple of years that you're like, oh my God, how, ooh, that person is, they were a great Rotarian, but something in their life changed, their job changed, their something happened. Raise your hand if you know somebody that's done that. Guys, the most successful people that do companions recognize this as a full program. Do you think think of that person. Do you think that had to leave for life reasons? And they come and they always say the same thing. They always say, I don't want to leave service to the club, but, right? That's what they say. My job changed. This changed. I'm a coach now. Da, 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 da. What happens if you had this in your back pocket and you said, hey, the only thing we know in life is that life is going to change again. So why don't we slide you over here to the companion? You can do service at your time, your pace, no stress, no pressure, no committees. Just go ahead and do service like that. And then when life changes again, we can slide you back over. Do you think that might have saved those people? Because you're now going to give people choices coming into Rotary. You can serve the club this way or this way. Which do you prefer? But you're also going to give them options now before they have to exit. What's the only options that we're giving people right now that has a life change and they can't make the meetings anymore and can't do that and they come to you?
Find them a club in the area.
Let us know.
Yeah, you could try to do that, but again, that's one of those things that doesn't work a lot of times. And they're going to another club in the area. But most of the time it's like, okay, when the things change, come back. We hope you come back. Now, if you have something like this, you can use this as a tool to help retain. And right now we're gathering the data, but what it looks like right now is the clubs that have companions, they use this to retain. They've got single digit attrition rates instead of 15 or 16. So if you use this to retain, use this to grow, you can turn everything around.
So, sorry, we're approaching the end of our time.
Yes, sir.
I think Patrick, I think you left them wanting. And so I would just simply say that if you want to explore Companion Club more, contact me. I'll hook you up with Patrick. We'll set up a stage call. I'd love to be part of it as well, so I can help you here locally. And I want to learn his process. But reach out and let's go. As Jim McKee said last night, it's a new day in Rotary. So let's run with it. And
Finish strong. Finish strong. You guys got 3 months. Finish strong. Sorry for interrupting. I'm just telling you, it's not too late for this year. You can get in and get it done.
So Patrick, I got one quick question. With a companion club, they have to follow the rules of a satellite club and create their own bylaws. Or do they follow the bylaws of the existing club? They're staying with that club. So
Yes.
you don't need those documents now, right?
You don't. And you know what? It does. You're ultimately you're members of that club. So you come underneath the bylaws of your home club. And that's just the way that it is. We got to keep it simple. And that's what we're doing.
yeah, and my recommendation, just from my experience, is that you modify the home club's bylaws just slightly to include representation from the companion club, so you can make sure that communication is solid.
Perfect.
Patrick, thank you so much. And
Guys, it was a pleasure. And thank you so much for inviting me. I really appreciate it.